Sounds podcast. My name is Lynn and I'm coming to you from Cardiff in Wales in the UK, and this is a knitting, crochet, sometimes spinning, sometimes dyeing, fibre based fortnightly podcast usually, but at the moment I'm coming to you weekly. So yes, I hope you are well. If you are a new viewer, thank you so much for dropping by. I hope you like what you see. And if you are a returning viewer, as always, thank you so much for coming back. I hope you have a cup of tea, cup of coffee, soft drink. It is a beautiful day here today, so yeah, cool drinks are the key, I think, today. But I hope you've got a project bag and you are letting me keep you company for half an hour or so of some knitting chatter. Yeah, I follow the usual format of finished objects, works in progress, any acquisitions or discoveries. I tend to go deep stash diving often, and I've got a gem today, so I can't wait to show you that later. Yeah, and then some general chit chat at the end. So it goes without saying, but how are you guys doing? Yes, globally we are in a little bit of an awful situation. That's a bit of an understatement, I know. So I hope you are keeping safe and well. Yes, I don't know about you, but my knitting has absolutely been my sanity saver, I think, over these last 3 weeks. I'm really not used to being in the house at all. I work away from home in the week generally, so being in the same four walls all week has been very odd. I'm sure a lot of you are exactly the same, but we're okay. We are safe and well, and that is an absolute blessing. So yeah, we'll talk more about that at the end, I guess. But yeah, finished objects. I actually have one this week. I seem to have been quite busy with knitting projects, but productivity seems to be a little bit less of a successful skill at the moment. You might be the same, I don't know. My finished objects. As you know, last week I had a little bit of a disaster with my mittens, as I had done 2 right-handed mittens. Ah, the drama. I know. When will I learn to read the pattern correctly? But you know, you just cast on, and then you're giddy with excitement, and there we are. It all goes wrong, shall we say. It's the polite way of putting it. Yes, so my mittens, these were from Myers Swedish Mittens. Can you see that? Oh, maybe not. I've got a new light finally, because the light in this house is really grim. So yes, but you can see it's a little ring. Can you see? Look, it's being reflected there. So yeah, you can see me, but you can also see the reflection in the book. Hey, whatever. So a really lovely book. Maybe not the ideal time to knit mittens, but you know what? In a global pandemic, I think rules are out of the window. I just needed a quick project to get done, and it would have been done a lot quicker if I had read the pattern. But anyway, here are my mittens. It's so warm today, I can't believe I'm putting gloves on, and I'm so pleased with them. They did come out a little bit bigger than I had planned. I think if I did these again or worked with this yarn again, I would go down a needle size. This was on a 4mm, and it's the Istex Let Loppy. So it's a very rustic yarn. You can see a nice bit of, can you see a bit of plume there on the top? Yeah, they are toasty warm already. And they were a little bit big, so I chucked them in the washing machine. Only for, I have a program that's 30 minutes at 30 degrees. So chuck them in the washing machine for that program with a couple of pairs of jeans, and they have felted just enough. The old Goldilocks syndrome, just enough. So yeah, they're probably a little bit too big, but they're not for me. So yes. They shall be a gift at the end of the year. I'm not even going to pronounce what the holiday season is called. But yeah, so they are done and dusted, completed. Hooray! A finished work in progress and an excellent lesson learned. So that's my one and only finished project. I seem to have an amazing amount of cast on itis at the moment, but I don't care. it doesn't matter, doesn't matter. So what have I been up to? That is that one done, excuse me. My Sea League shawl, I haven't really done a great deal on it this week. I think it's probably in the same state as it was last time we spoke. That's the reverse side, that's the front side. My first bit of brioche knitting. I am enjoying it, absolutely, but it takes a little bit of brain power for me. It's getting easier to pick up and put down, but it still needs a dedicated couple of hours. And a couple of hours seems a long time at the moment. And I'm doing it in these two skeins. These are some of my hand-dyed stuff that I was playing around with. Yeah, I do really like the pattern, but focus-wise is a little limited at the moment. So that will just tick away in my project bag, and I will come to it as and when I can. What else? The Chauncey sweater by Isabel Kramer is coming along a dream. This is in Issachar brand, Tvinny tweed and Rauma Lamel yarn. Yeah, so that's one of them. I don't think I have the other one with me, but it is in previous podcasts. If you're desperate to know what it is, you'll be able to have a little look. And then this is the sweater. I've divided for the sleeves, I've headed down the body and making good progress, I think. I've still got a long way to go, and obviously the joys of Sleeve Island await, but it's getting there because it's only on a 3.25. So it is taking its time, but I really like the texture of the yarn. I haven't worked with this yarn before, but I would definitely work with it again. It's got beautiful stitch definition, nice and rustic but not scratchy. But I was saying last week that I've punctured my finger many times with the higher sharps. I was doing it on Knit Pro Symphony, but I changed to higher sharps because the Symphony needles weren't quite sharp enough, and because they're wooden and the wool is quite rustic, it really wasn't, it was quite tricky to find those stitches, you know what I mean, to kind of get through. So I changed to the higher sharps, which has been so much better to work with this yarn. However, I have managed to puncture my finger several times, so I have to keep having a break from knitting with it whilst my finger heals. Yeah, I know it's my technique. I kind of pop my finger on the end of the needle to kind of get the stitch off, so that's clearly not advised with these needles. They're called higher sharps for a reason. They truly are. But I'm enjoying that one. That one for me is an end of the day, sitting on the sofa in front of whatever box set I am into on Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever, or on YouTube. Have you been watching any of the... I'm going to take a swig, excuse me. People in the UK, the National Theatre, are putting out some of their productions on YouTube. And I watched Jane Eyre last night. Oh, it's fantastic. I absolutely would recommend YouTube, National Theatre, Jane Eyre. I think it's only available for a week. Catch it if you can. What a brilliant show. Yeah, really lucky to be able to see some of their shows. I think they did One Man, Two Governors last week. But Jane Eyre this week has been brilliant. So yeah, check that out if you fancy an evening at the theatre. We kind of had a little bit of a, you know, glass of wine, some popcorn, and yeah, I went to the theatre in my gym jams. Never done that before. So yeah, it was lovely, really nice evening. So do check that out. It's a fantastic piece of theatre. Anyway, apologies, it is not a theatre review podcast, it is a knitting podcast. What else? Oh yes, the mystery cal I am doing with Sarah Alderson and Anne Kingstone. It's their mystery cal, shoulder to shoulder mystery cal, and each week you have two options. Obviously you don't know how it's going to work out. You can kind of get a gist from the pattern, but I'm not entirely sure. So this is the deets. is that focusing? I haven't got my glasses on so I can't see. Yeah, so this is the shoulder to shoulder mystery cowl. And it had 2 starts. So the first start was cast on 12 stitches and you did like a long strip of a lace pattern. And then the second clue, I chose, I think it was option 1, and you kind of pick up all your stitches, 403 stitches, yeah, I know, but a new technique I hadn't worked before. So you knit through, you've slipped stitches all the way up, I'll show you in a sec, and then when you're picking up the stitches, you pick up those, or pick up and knit through the slipped stitches, but also it's a make one towards as you go along, so you're adding the stitch count, and I hadn't done that before, make one towards, so you sort of in between picking up and knitting the stitches, you are creating like a backwards loop stitch as you go along, and it creates a much nicer, neater edge when you're having to pick up more stitches than our physical stitches. I hadn't done that before, so that was a really nice new technique. Doing it in these 2 balls of loveliness that were from Stash, Deep Stash Diving. Eden Cottage Yarns is this one, and Lorna Makes, I think this one. I will write it down in the box. So yeah, I thought they matched quite nicely, nice bits of flecks of red in this one, so we can kind of match those together. And this is how it's going. Excuse me as I open it out because it's a bit of a knotty mess at the minute. So this is the edge. So this bit down here is the long, thin, lacy bit. It's difficult to hold, that we did first. And then this is starting to be a sort of a slip stitch pattern. And I'm not giving anything away because I am way behind. So yeah, this is kind of working out into a slip stitch grid sort of pattern. The camera's kind of blowing it out a little bit, but when it's blocked out, I guess it'll be really lovely. So working my way through that, I made an absolute pig's ear, shall we say, of the first row where you kind of set those slipped stitches. Oh my goodness me, I made such a hash of it. So in the end, I kind of had to add a couple of stitches and decrease a couple of stitches just to make sure those slip stitches lined up. But there we are. It was a major piece of fudge. It was probably like, if you ate the amount of fudge I did here, you would be sick. Yeah, it was major fudging going on, but I think we're okay. I think we're back on track, and hopefully it'll all work out. I seem to have enough stitches now, although I think I'm a pattern repeat down, but that's okay. I'll fudge it later on. I'm not going back. I'm not going back 403 stitches. It's fine, it's fine. We shall see what happens. It's going to be a shawl anyway, so it's going to be scrunched around my neck. So if there are any major issues, I will judge and fudge as we go along, and it will be fine, I'm sure. I hope. But yes, so that's a nice one to get the old teeth into. Things with charts and things at the moment I am enjoying, as long as they're not too complicated. And the great thing about that is that on the knit row, you kind of set the chart, set the pattern, and then on the purl row, you're kind of just following following the pattern that you've just set. So you get a little bit of a rest on your purl rows. Or wrong side rows rather, because it's in garter stitch. That is on a 2.75. So yeah. Oh, the other thing on that one is, those of you that have been here for a couple of weeks, I've been trying to do more continental knitting. I am an English knitter, even though I'm Welsh, you know what I mean, a UK knitter, where you kind of throw the yarn round, and so I'm trying to get better at my continental knitting. It's fine for if I do colour work, I have a yarn in each hand, so this finger has some skills in it, but my shawl I'm trying to do all with this finger, with the continental knitting, so it's taking me a little bit longer. Oh, this hand is itching to grab hold of that yarn, but I'm being good. I'm trying to stick at it. My tongue does point out quite a lot sometimes if I'm having to do like a knit two together or a knit one slip one, anything like that. Passing slip stitches over is tricky for this little fella at the moment, but we're getting there, because I'm not only is it supposed to be faster, and I know it's not a competition, it's not about speed, but I also think that, you know, this little guy does a lot of work, and seeing as I'm home a little bit more and doing more knitting, repetitive strain injury is beginning to kick in. So just trying to give it a bit of a rest and making sure that each finger is as used as the other. I used to find that with crochet actually, when I did a lot of crochet, that I would have to swap my fingers around because otherwise one would get a bit stiff and sore. So yeah, not a bad idea. It's very annoying, it's very frustrating at times when you kind of, you know, you could go faster on the other hand, but I do think if you can spend some time learning a new way to knit, it just means that you're yeah, being a little bit kinder to your hands. Because if I couldn't knit because I had arthritis in my finger or something like that, oh my goodness, then I would lose my mind, I think. So yes, protect these very, very fantastic beings. Yeah, so that is a new knitting skill technique as well as being a lovely project. What else have I got on the needles? I think that's about it really. I've got a pair of socks still ticking away. I've got a hat that I should kind of get back to. What else? That's about it on the needles. But I have a little cast on treat for myself. Excuse me, take a slurp. In my lovely Plustra backpack with my fabulous little pins, my little Welsh Norway pin and my blue tip pin, which is one of our birds over here. When we go to, my father lives in France, and of course at the moment we're not able to visit him. It's a very rural area of the Vendée, and when we go over there we have like a little caravan, and the blue tits that come and feed from our little feeders, they are an absolute joy. So yeah, my husband bought me this little blue tit badge to remind us that we will be getting to France hopefully soon to see him and have some chilling time in the beautiful French countryside. But that at the moment seems like a faraway dream. So yeah, that is the Plustra backpack. This is there. They're an Oslo-based company, and they create beautiful, beautiful knitting bags and pouches. And in fact, this one came with that rucksack, so you get the rucksack and the little knitting pouch as well. There's quite a few stockists of hers now, so yeah, check those out. But anyway, I shall be doing, and I shall put a picture of it here because I haven't printed off the pattern yet, but it is the Botanical Garden sweater. There is a Norwegian translation of that title, as in that's the English translation, but I'm not going to attempt the Norwegian. But it is beautiful. As you can see, a wonderful, wonderful yoke with these, I think there might be hummingbirds in there. We went to, I was working and spent a week in LA last summer. I know, right? How lucky was I? But hummingbirds, they're just like everywhere, just popping around the little gardens there. I'd never ever seen a hummingbird in my life, and that was absolute highlight. So yeah, it makes me think of that, which is why I wanted to cast it on. From the picture you can see that the main body is sort of an undyed, a light colour, and I'm going to go with that. So I've got some undyed merino, I think it's 4-ply merino weight. Yeah, just some lovely undyed. I think 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon, that I must have bought a couple of years ago, I think, at Wonderwool Wales, when I was starting to kind of hand dye. But I've got 4 skeins of this, which I think is just about enough as much as I need. It's quite loose, lots of positive ease, and also big puffy sleeves. I might change the sleeves a little bit. I'm not a huge fan of the puffy sleeves, but so I think I should have enough. But then my deep stash discovery is this little joy from Moonlight Yarns. Moonlight Yarns, yes. I don't even know if they're in existence anymore. I'll have a little check when I put all this up on YouTube. I'll have a little check if they're still trading, and I'll put the details below. And this is 75% merino, 20% nylon, and 5% silver sparkle. Can you see the sparkles in there? Maybe not. Now, oh, there's one maybe sticking out there. I'm not normally a sparkly person. Obviously on the outside, but I don't really choose to wear sparkly things necessarily. But yes, so I don't really know why or how I bought this, but look at this. It is a wonderful graded sock blank. I should show you the middle first really, shouldn't I? And you see that, isn't that just divine? So yeah, it's a sock blank, and goes all the way from this light teal all the way through to this beautiful dark teal colour. So I think I'm going to use that for the yoke, for the colour in the yoke, and I'm probably going to start at the light end because I think it probably only takes around between 50 and 70 grams of the colour. So I think I'll probably start at the lighter end because it's a top down, and work down and see how far I get, see how dark it gets, and then I'll just have, you know, 20-30 grams of this darker shade of teal left. So I should be skeins those up today. It might not cast on today because I've got a few bits and bobs to do with work, but this will definitely be cast on by the end of this weekend, I'm going to say. I know I've got plenty to be getting on with, but at the moment the joy of casting on something new is a really, really lovely feeling. So, and I haven't got any colour work on the needles now. Now I finished the colour work of my Chauncey sweater, and I finished my Trek sweater. So yeah, I think I'm allowed one more sweater on the needles. So yeah, I'll be skeins that up today and maybe casting on tomorrow. Yeah, so what else? Well, you might have seen on my Instagram that I had a little bit of a dyeing day yesterday. I'm still very much a learner dyer. Haven't got rid of my L plates yet, but I've been experimenting with colours and yarns, just what I've got in my stash. So I had a big pack of 20 gram merino single minis. I think I had 18 left in the pack. So I thought, right, I'm just going to take the day and experiment on some different bits and bobs, different colours, different ways of dyeing, and this is what I did. So I tried to have a go, as you saw in the beginning, in a couple of gradient sets. And they're not bad, not bad. So here are the reds, which are always tricky for the camera. You get together, so you can see those there. So they're okay, not bad. It's really quite difficult to get those, the grading of the colours, maybe better back here. Because obviously you're playing with the dilution of your dye stock in the dilution of the water, bits and bobs. So yeah, that was a nice little experiment. And then I had a little go with the greens as well. They were a bit more successful, I think. I think I've managed to get a little bit of a better grade on those. So yeah, they are very cute. And then I had a little go at different, so you can either dye obviously in a big pot where you just shove everything all together and allocate the colour into areas of the pot, but obviously that pot is going to swirl around. My camera is flashing at me. Yes, I'm just about to run out of battery, so I'm going to quickly change battery. Excuse I. Battery changed, I'm back. So yes, gradient sets, done those, lovely. And then I tried some pot dyeing, as I was saying. So you put it all in a big pot, and even though you put the colour in certain sections maybe, because it swishes around in the pot a little bit. You're not as specific as where in the yarn that is going to hit. So these ones, these three here, these were done in a pot, so with some pink, some teal and some little bit of indigo, I think. So I'm really like those what's the word, pastel-y kind of colours, and I did some cherry blush speckles on it as well. So this is one that I haven't skeined up. So can you see how there's a bit of pink there on all 3/4 sides, and indigo, a little splodge of indigo, some lovely kind of speckly bits here. Yeah, so much more random in the way it's kind of dyed up. And then these ones I did in a tray. So I think I did black or grey at the top, then green, then navy, and then red at the bottom. So 4 very specific sections, and that's how they look in the skein. So you can see different splurges of colour. I really like this green. I think it's called wattle. And you can see that it's gone a bit purple there in the middle where the red has hit the navy. So I really like that, the way that the water in the bath, however much water you put in there, and it kind of spreads around a little bit and creates colours that you haven't put in there. And this is the way, let me get it into the right shape. So you can see there, look, that I put grey on the top of the tray, and then some of that darker green, then the navy kind of got squooshed into the green, and a little bit of red on the end. But it kind of created that lovely little section of spots of red that have moved into purple. And then I really like the fact that the grey at the top here has been a little bit diluted by the green as well. So my plan for the rest of today is to knit up a couple of these and see the difference in how they knit up. Because as I say, I am still kind of experimenting in what you get out of the pot affects what you're knitting. And of course it depends on whether you're knitting a jumper or a pair of socks. The distance between those colours is going to have an impact depending on what the gauge is. But yeah, I just wanted to have a little bit more control over what the specifics of what I dye and where I put the colour and how that affects the overall knitted up garment. So yeah, so I look forward to seeing how that is panning out afterwards. Oh, and I've got to mention what I'm wearing. So this is my Soldotna crop, as I'm sure most of you know. Yeah, there's a bit of a I think it must have been this time last year. I finished it actually, because its first outing was to Wonderwool Wales, which is always a yarn show in Wales, and it's always at the end of April. So of course, sadly, that isn't going ahead this year. And yeah, that's where I bought this lovely sock blank from. Must have been 4 or 5 years ago. But you know what it's like, at the time, I needed it. I needed this, and 4 or 5 years later, here we are. I am used. So I did need it. I just didn't maybe need it as desperately as I thought I did. But it's lucky now, see? Lucky I've had it now, because now I've got the perfect project. Yes, so Soldotna crop, Caitlin Hunter. This was done out of Debbie Bliss Mia, which is a 50% cotton, 50% wool blend. And it's a lovely lighter jumper for the summer and spring, but it's too hot for it today, I think. It's fine inside, but I'm going to go and grab a cup of tea and sit in my backyard in a bit. For a proper garden at times of quarantine, eh? But hey, I'm lucky enough to have that. Some people who live in flats don't have a little balcony or any outdoor spaces. So yes, being able to go and sit quietly in the garden is absolutely fine. And it's really weird actually, because you can kind of hear all the kids in their back gardens, and you don't really hear a lot of that. I guess people are more likely to head off to the park, so it's quite nice to hear that. Young kids chatter in there, paddling pools and things like the back garden. Yes, so I think that's about it really for the knitting content, the fibre-y content. So if that's all you're here for, thank you so much for dropping by. Keep yourselves well, keep yourselves safe, keep yourselves busy, and I will catch up with you next week. Please feel free to drop me a message either down below here or on Instagram, Facebook, Ravelry, wherever. It's been really lovely to kind of get a bit closer to people in our knitting communities. I think we're also, we kind of often feel divided by the country or countries, but now everything is online. I'm teaching online, having meetings online, as I'm sure you lot are as well. So we kind of start to understand that we are actually all closer together than we think. So having some knit nights online is a fun prospect. I know some people are starting to do that, so that would be nice. Yeah, so keep yourselves well. If you are one of those key workers, thank you so much. But yeah, what else to say really? For me, what have I been up to? Trying to keep myself busy, but not being too hard on myself if I am not particularly productive. I've been doing some more spinning. Obviously I've been doing some dyeing. It's been lovely weather to dry that yarn out in the sunshine. Yeah, I also did a big spreadsheet of all my knitting needles, so I have got a bit of a chart going on now of everything I have, because I'm sick of thinking, oh, have I got that? I don't think I have. Maybe not finding it straight away and then ordering another set of needles or set of tips. So I have finally organised myself and put everything together. And yeah, in my knitting stash is my mum's old needles, and it's always weird because they're in the pouch of their own. Yeah, and I don't want to dilute her stuff into my stuff. I know it's crazy and it's weird, it's all stuff, and she would want me to just use whatever, but I still feel, oh no, I'm borrowing my mum's needles. So yeah, so she's still got her little pouch, so everything in my spreadsheet is marked as to whether it's mine or my mum's. But that's been quite a good thing to get a little bit organised. Did I throw anything away? No. I just made it fit better in the box. But it made me feel better. What else? Nothing really. As I say, we are all home. The kids are home. I think they're starting to go a bit stir crazy. I think they genuinely thought it would be 3 weeks and then we would no longer be in lockdown, but I think it's very evident at the moment that it is going to be far more than 3 weeks. And there is talk of the possibility of maybe allowing younger people out first. So maybe they'll head back to uni, or certainly to their houses, because some of their friends are still living in their uni houses. So yeah, maybe they'll head back there June, July. Really not sure. It's difficult, isn't it, for the world to be so out of control. But yes, we're all doing our bit. Stay home. Please stay home. If you can stay home, please stay home. Let us try and flatten the curve. It's difficult for young people. I know we've had a few heated discussions with my son about popping to the shop for a bottle of pop is not an essential trip. And I think, yeah, in the first week he was a little bit blasé, but of course he's an adult, you can't kind of lock the door. But I think, yeah, they're starting to understand the magnitude of everything and the importance of where you can staying at home to stop the spread, flatten the curve, and hopefully we can get through the other side of this. We've had our largest recorded day of deaths yesterday, so we are not out of the woods yet by any stretch of the imagination. Yes, so as I've said before, if you are an NHS worker, thank you so much. If you are a key worker, thank you so much. I am going to stop blathering on, and I just want to you to know that I absolutely appreciate what you're doing. But for everybody else, yeah, stay home, keep safe, and I will catch up with you very soon. You take care of yourself, guys. Hoi bao.